And this live that I'm doing is going to be on the second part of my story. So I actually got up at 4 in the morning to start writing everything down. Honestly, they told me, spirit or guides told me to write a lot of it down, and this is in the early 2000s, and all the information that I got from this, some of it I've forgotten, some of it, there is so much. And so I think this is going to be 4 parts, honestly. So much information to share with you guys through my journey. So I'm just going to go straight into it. I'm not even going to wait for people to arrive on the chat bar or anything like that, because I just need to get this all out ASAP. So we're going through the next, I think from 20s and 30s in my life, but really everything started ramping up when I was in my 40s. Lots of visitations from different extraterrestrials happened in my 40s, but that's still to come. But this is extremely important for my own what had happened to me and my growth, and I think to you guys as well. So first of all, I just want to interact that when I was 19, I did have a dream of climbing up a mountain. When I got to the top of the mountain, I was with everybody else. I was just a normal person with everyone else struggling to get up to the top of the mountain. When we got up to the top of the mountain, there was a massive maze in front of us, and everyone turned to me and said, "You'll be taking us through that, leading us through the maze." So I kind of know what that's all about now that I'm, in my 50s and getting all of this information that I've got throughout my whole life, through spirit, through guides, through all these visitations that I've had. And it's starting to come together as to what this is all about, and teaching others that they have, the ability to get themselves out of all of their own mind crap and create their own reality. There's so much to share here, though, that I'm just going to breeze over a lot of the stories because just huge amounts. Also, when I was young, we had a pretty negative energy in the family line. I'm not sure if it was like a pool of energy that happened from my parents or their grandparents or whatever further back, but I certainly tapped into that when I was young. It was not an easy journey for me at all spiritually. When I did get into my 30s, I did end up getting rid of that energy. And this is how I did it, so that I can help other people get rid of anything that's really stuck in their DNA line or anything like that. So first up, I tried everything. I tried, I just went one year, I just went, that's it, I've had enough of this negative energy. It used to come through in a doll of mine, and she used to kind of rule my room when I was a kid and all sorts of weird stuff. And she would approach me and freak me out and scare me all the time. And then when I was older, I went, that's it, I've had enough of this. And I wanted to get rid of it. So I had all these dreams about her throwing knives around and all sorts of stuff, and it was pretty awful. But I felt she could shapeshift into different objects and stuff like that. So she'd really taken a bit of a hold. And there was repercussions in my family bloodline that had happened that weren't very nice either. My maternal side could never hug me. There was no hugs or touching or anything like that because of certain things that had happened. I'm not going to go into any of that too much. Okay, so in the end, this is how I got rid of this energy. I tried everything. I tried to face her. I tried to fight her. I tried to electrocute her once in a dream. I tried everything. I tried running away. I tried hiding. I tried everything you could think of to get rid of this energy, this person, this spirit, this negative that had taken hold of our bloodline. And in the end, what I did was very Alice in Wonderland, actually, looking back at it. In the dream, I went up to her and I held out my hand and I went, I'm going to somewhere better. Do you want to come? Do you want to come with me? and it was really facing that Jabberwocky and Alice in Wonderland. I just went, I've had enough. I'd seen her in a classroom throwing knives around all the kids and everything, and it was pretty awful. And I just went, you know what, nah, I'm not going to try to stop her. I'm not going to try to fight her. I'm just going to invite her. I'm inviting you to come. Do you want to come with me? And then she just turned off. She just walked off and went, nah, I'm not going with you. And I just went, well, I'm not afraid anymore. And I just walked off on my own place and went towards what I really wanted to go towards. So it's extremely important that we don't keep fighting these negative energies, that we can say to them, you want to come? I'm not afraid of you anymore. And we go off and do our own thing. So that was important for me to get out. After I got rid of the negative energies that I had actually, hi Tony, and hi, I'm not going to do too much chat, but I will interact every now and then. Thank you, Tony, for saying that's beautiful. So there's just so much to get out here because I have been guided by Spirit to get my story out. So this is part 2. I then started manifesting some cool things. Because I cleared that energy, things started coming for me. So I had a real pull, intuition pull, to buy a house. We bought the last house in the area that we were at that was going for under $120,000. From then on, it just skyrocketed up. As everyone knows, in Australia, in early 2000s, it just went skyrocket up. So we ended up cashing in on that win. I also won a major competition with my music. I submitted my original songs to be 105 in Brisbane, and the next day I was in front of TV cameras, and I ended up singing my original song. The very next day voting was happening live on TV on Channel 7, Today Tonight, and Brisbane voted me the winner. So I ended up winning 15 days of fame, going around in limos. Then I was living up at the Marriott Hotel. I sung in front of Broncos live. I sung with different famous bands. Had autographs, the whole finag. It was nuts, limoed everywhere. It was just crazy. Jumped out of a plane to a live show and all sorts of stuff. So that was another beautiful thing that had happened and I intuitively knew that was going to happen because of this. I got rid of this negative energy. It's kind of like a reward system that happens, I think, when we start to really clear our shite, to say the truth. Okay, so 2001. I'm just going to take a drink of water. I had a shamanic journey with a lady, and we put our hands together and lied with this drum beat happening, and I went in and saw myself as an eagle. And then I came out and she said, you are a sea eagle. I saw myself only as an eagle, not a sea eagle, and I saw lots of feathers on me, and the feathers were white, and they were written love, and all this love was just falling from the eagle. So that was extraordinary. Then when I came home, I had a dream, not a vision, sorry. So this is all amongst a lot of visions. So all my life I had visits from spirits. I actually wake up and see them. They show me themselves as balls of light. They show me themselves as all sorts of different objects, and they give me lots of lessons and lots of information. But this day, I actually saw a massive X just coming straight at me, which actually frightened me. And I sat up and said something subliminally. My partner at the time, my ex-husband, the girl's father, said to me that I had said, they're coming. I knew this would happen. And I rung up this person, and she said, it's okay, you've just opened up this whole new, part of myself that I was really getting in touch with. So I started writing channel poems, poems that had big messages in them. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to tell you the actual poem now, because I'll have to go hunt it back up out of my book again. Anyway. The channel poem at the end of it had a big message about facing our fears and all sorts. And it had a word that I did not know. I did not know this word at all. I just wrote it as I sounded it. And it was a word called namaskar. And I didn't know the word namaste at the time. I didn't know anything about spiritual stuff in that respect. But I wrote this word, I didn't even know if it was a word, down. And I looked it up later on, and I found out it was an ancient word of a namaste. And it actually means greetings. I recognize we are all one. So that poem was channeled through this person that was saying greetings. I recognize we're all one. In 2002, I've had lots. Tony's like, what a whirlwind. I've had lots of whirlwinds. In 2002, I saw a actual snake climb onto my bed and face me. Now, at first I was afraid, and then I realized it was a spiritual snake. It wasn't, because I see things that others can't see. I actually woke up my partner, said, can you see the snake? It's right in front of me. It's like 2 feet away from me. Can you see it? It had its head up facing me. And as I looked closer at it, it sort of dissolved, and there was a white outline of it, like an aura that was showing. And so it was showing me, you know, that it was awakening some sort of chakra, some sort of something within me. I didn't know much about spirituality at the time. It was just facing me, and it turned around and crawled off. It's something that's really stuck in my mind, so I felt I needed to share that. I also was connecting with my daughter before she was born. We did a vision board with some friends of mine, and she came on and she said, and I don't like those, you know, Ouija board things. I don't like them at all. I will not go near them because I've had certain things that have happened with them that I won't go near them. But at this stage, I didn't know much about what they were all about. So we just were playing around. We didn't bring it out that much. I found out later, yeah, they're not a good idea at all. But in this case, my daughter came through that was going to be born, and she said she wanted to be born. And I asked if another was going to be born after her, and she said, yes, she's thinking about it. We went downstairs straight after I talked to her. We went into the garden, and I had my girlfriend's daughter there, who was only about 2 years old. I'm jumping with her on the tramp. I'm holding her while she's jumping on the tramp, and she saw behind me. She said, I see a beautiful girl behind you. She's floating in a tree. And she said, I'm a little bit afraid. But I said to her, well, is she looking like she's going to be, you know, not a nice person? And she said, no, she seems fine. I said, well, I think it's going to be fine then. And she told me that she had very, very dark eyes, and she was wearing blue. Now, I've had a daughter previously born with blue eyes. I've got blue eyes. My husband at the time had light brown eyes, but he had a daughter that had blue eyes. Ayla was born with dark, dark brown eyes. So just an interesting circumstance that happened there. Before I actually found out that I was pregnant with her, I saw a vision of a cord attaching to me. I went and had a shower and realized that I was pregnant. I went and got a test. The test came back a very faint positive. I went to see the doctor. He took me to the hospital. The hospital did a scan on me, and they said, well, I don't know how you know you're pregnant because you are only just pregnant. And this is a few weeks later. So just pregnant. Just a little dot was on the screen, honestly. Now, my dragonfly dream, holy crap. So my dragonfly dream is a profound thing that happened. I dreamt of following a dragonfly into like a pyramid, and on the pyramid was lots of tiles, and each tile that I stepped on lit up like a light. And then the very next day, there was this, like in that temple, there was some messages, there was scrolls, there was things to find, there was things, information. I'm not going to go into absolutely every single detail with all of this stuff because I'll be here forever. But the very next day, there was this tapping on my screen door. Now, I knew I had a hornet's nest up at the screen door, so I decided I'm just not going to even listen to it because it's just hornets bumping on my screen door. I'm doing the dishes. It's getting late at night, starting to get dark. Realized I had to put my washing out, grab my washing, go downstairs with it, and this thing whacks me on the back of my head as I'm walking down the stairs. My daughter comes to the screen door and she says, Mum, you have a message. honestly, I don't even know what the message on the phone was about, because when I got to the top of the stairs, I looked at the screen door, and here's this massive, huge golden dragonfly, just like I saw in my dream. And it is just banging on the screen door, and I'd realized it was the same bug that was probably banging on my door for the last hour trying to get my attention. So I put my hand underneath it as it was flying, and it flipped upside down. And I'm like, well, dragonflies can fly upside down. Then I just remembered that I was asking guidance because I didn't know which way to go. I didn't know whether to follow more spiritual side, didn't know whether to follow more loving my family side, didn't know what sort of journey I wanted to take. Where should I go? What should I work? Should I work? Should I do more of that, the logical side? Do I need to go to school? All these questions were being asked just a few days before. So after that, I realized what Dragonfly was teaching me was that any way is the right way to go, because Dragonfly can fly upside down, it can fly backwards, it can go anywhere. So it was teaching me, and I want to teach you guys, that you just need to choose. You just need to choose. Choose a path and go, and choose the path that makes you feel good. Why not choose the path that makes you feel good? That's the path to the greatest place that you want to go to. So choose a path, and that's the right path to go. So don't get too confused with that. I think it's a 7 in the tarot cards where I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Okay, so then after that, I had a real pull from Spirit and guides to teach people, not teach people, sorry. Don't even know why I said that. It's interesting. To invite people to a place called Mount Nebo. And guidance was telling me that I was learning the Merkaba at the time, and we needed to do this Merkaba on this mountain. I didn't know where it was going to be. One of the people on my team that I invited had said he knew where it was. He was told where to go. There was a massive amount of butterflies coming from that place at the time. When we got there, when he showed us, the grass was honestly up to our waist, and it was like just wading through glass up to the top of this kind of hill of the mountain in this park right next to a beautiful lake. So we all lied down, and we all got riddled by friggin' ticks and everything. And then we got told to get rid of ticks, you spray lavender and water on you before, and then they don't come near you. So that was handy. So when we went back there to do more meditation, we did it a few times. And then I got told that we needed to plant crystals up there. So everyone pulled together, and we got, I think it was like 52 crystals. Now, when I went up there, I knew that the grass was this month later, the grass had actually grown even taller, growing up to my face. And we're like, holy crap, how are we going to get to, to plant crystals with all this grass everywhere? But exactly where we had meditated, and all we had done is flattened down the grass, but it was always growing. There was a massive patch, no grass where we had meditated like a month before. No grass. And it was just this perfect circle of just dirt. And even though the grass had grown right up to our nose, getting up to that point, it was incredible. It was like the grass didn't even exist to begin with in the place that we were meditating before. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. So we had now a patch to plant all of these crystals. And we planted several. I put several in the middle. I shifted them all into male, female, and we made a massive circle around the outside. I put a white one. I'm pretty sure it was the white one in between the circle and the tight center, and then one on the outside, so there was some sort of balance that was happening. Incredible story. Anyway, I needed to share that one as well. So we're going now to when my next daughter was born, Avalon. So when I was pregnant with Avalon, Now, when I given birth to Ayla, I saw her astral travel around just like I did with my eldest daughter, because I can see interdimensionally. I saw them astral traveling around. They always want to come near me for the first 3, 4, 5 months of my life. If they're in a crib somewhere, they want to be with their mum when they're just born. Just to let you guys know that babies want to be with their mum when they're just born. Before Avalon was born, when I was pregnant with, this was totally different. I actually woke up and saw her standing beside my bed while I was pregnant with her, and she's giving me a gift. I saw her twice, and she looked totally different to my other one. She had very blue eyes and very blonde hair. And she looks exactly like she did when she was about 6 years old, because she's now 15. So that was pretty incredible. She's a very unusual and connected child with no fear of death whatsoever. Interesting. Yeah, and she's given me a lot of messages, which I will tell later on in the next, because I'm trying to go chronologically in an order here. Then we ended up going to Fiji. When we went to Fiji, I was pregnant with Avalon, and we had little 2-year-old Ayla. So when we went to sleep, I had a vision of a light shining over Ayla's crib, and a very loud music happening. A lady, Indigenous lady, I felt, was singing a song, and it wasn't in English. It was in another language, and the only word that I can remember was Moya. Moya, and she kept singing Moya, 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 and it was in a tune, and she would sing it over and over. I had no idea what it was meaning. The very next day, we ended up at the Fijian Chief's tribal place, and they were doing a round of sipping I don't know what it's called now, kava. So I went up to him, the chief, and I said to him, look, I heard somebody at nighttime singing this song, and the word was Moya. And he said it was a lullaby, and the Moya meant good night. So it was just more confirmation that this guidance, the spiritual guidance that I've been given, all of this information that I've been given, we're on the right track here. So we've got, Avalon showed up, we're pregnant with her, went to Fiji. Oh yeah, and before I went to Fiji, I actually saw, this sounds horrible, and I have seen some pretty horrible things in my visions as well when they're telling me certain things about certain people. But this didn't actually freak me out. I know it would freak most people out, but it didn't freak me out. Before I went to Fiji, I saw a severed head on my bed. The severed head just turned to me like, hey there. And I'm like, hey, yeah, whatever. I'm going back to sleep because I've seen so many things. It's silly. When we actually went to Fiji, we ended up tripping up over a person that wanted to guide us. And he took us to a place where there was another guide that was taking a team of people through caves. And so we got to follow the guide through the caves. And when we went to the caves, there was a platform, like a rock that was flat. And he said, this is where they used to sacrifice the Fijians, and they chop their heads off. And I'm like, okay, that's why I saw the severed head. Now, at the back of that, there was a water, like a wow. And he said that the tribes used to escape from their enemies, and they would be taken by the shaman first, would dive down this well, and then it would end up somewhere else. Now, no one could get there because they tried to go there with tanks, and it was too narrow. They couldn't hold their breath long enough. So somehow or other, the shaman helped the people hold their breath long enough to escape, which was an incredible story in itself. So I did get to see, before Avalon was born, I was shown the birth of her, and that it was going to be easy because I was worried about that. Dreams, like I had a massive dream too of myself disappearing into dots, and then I reappeared back into my form, and then there was a cliff and an angelic being standing by the cliff, and she just looks at me, smiles, and jumps off the cliff, and pink butterflies are carrying her. So that was the leap of faith that we have to leap into. I had 3 premonition dreams because my ex didn't believe half of what I was telling him. So I said, I'll prove it. And I had 3 premonition dreams of things that would happen. The very next day they happened on the news, on TV. So one of those dreams was a moving of a line, somebody digging where they shouldn't be digging in a specific place, and all this smudge sludging up. And there was actually something that happened on news where a company, an oil rig company, had dug up somewhere, and it brought up all the sludge, and everybody had to move the village that was close to where the sludge had been brought up. That was on the news the very next day after I dreamt that. So 3 of those dreams. Now, I'm going to say that one later. So next I found a true stone. Okay, so I went camping in Kenilworth, and I had been working with a friend of mine on visions to create a new earth and what that could look like. We're talking about back in early 2000s, still here, 2005 I think it was. I went for a walk, and early in the morning, and I spoke to God, which I never spoke to God before in my life, because I didn't really quite get the God was outside of myself thing. But anyway, I just went, God, show me a sign. I need a sign. Is this actually going to happen, that we're going to bring in this new energies, this new earth, this new thing that's going to happen? And a massive rainbow appeared. Right as I said that, I was so amazed, just appeared, and I could see where it landed on the other side of the river, and I knew I could get to that place. So I was told then that there was a gift at the end of the rainbow, so to speak. So the very next day, that day, we all went for a walk in the afternoon, and a friend of my ex-husband, of my girl's father, found a stone, and I should really go get the stone. But in any case, the stone was a rectangle with a rectangle inside of it. I have shown it on other videos, by the way. And this stone was valuable to me because a year later I meditated with it, and it ended up telling me the truth in my dreams. What was the truth? It lined me up with the truth every time. I even tripped over a magician. I wasn't sure if he was for real or not, and the dream told me it was an advertising book. It turned into an advertising book, and it told me that it wasn't real. And I asked the magician, and he actually said yes, it was fake. So I'm like lining myself up with what the truth is. I also used to split and crumble and show me that it would teach others how to become telepathic, telekinetic, and all of those things as well. I still have the true stone with me. It did crack, it did break in 2011, around the same time as the earthquakes was happening. It split into 2/3, completely 1/3 to 2/3, which I've shown in another dream that's what was going to happen with humanity. We were going to have a split happening of 1/3 to 2/3. 2/3 was going to go into the new earth, and 1/3 was going to be going into almost like when a baby's born, they have the placenta going back to earth and restarting the evolutional spark again, and nothing disappears, nothing. That's all one. We're all one. So with these stories, there's a lot of other story that happens as well, but I'm just going shortly through them so I can bring them all to you. Had a dream about in August of 2006, I woke up from a dream that said I was flying over another reality. It was somebody's heaven, and ended up climbing up a tree house, and there was a man called Steve in the tree house, and all these animals coming towards this tree house, and he's looking out this huge window at all these beautiful animals. There was gorillas, there was buffalo, I remember that. Anyway, he was very sad. And it was only a month or so later, I had another dream where a girl was firing a vision, where I woke up and saw a girl firing a bow and arrow, a light bow and arrow at my heart, and then a dad in a coffin. And a few days later, Steve Irwin had passed away. I had a really crazy experience with cooking. I started becoming really good with cooking, and I'm not really into cooking, so it was interesting. My energy and his energy. I think he actually loves cooking. So that happened, and I connected with him after, and he didn't realize he had died for a couple of weeks. So I sent him back to the farm, and apparently Bindi had a dream, and she dreamt of him sitting by a tree in the farm and talked to him and felt a lot more peaceful about all of that. So I actually painted the heaven. I painted that heaven that is on my website, Steve Irwin's Heaven. I'd also had a crashing through of like another huge thing had happened where my whole window had imploded inwards, and these 4 angelic beings on horseback were in my room, and they were flying above me, and my whole window imploded in. It was massive. It sounded massive to me. I sat up and I said something to my partner at the time. I'd heard the song going through my head, "A Band Full of Angels is Coming After Me," and there's a song that actually sings that line, and I had said, "They're coming soon, not just yet. I've been waiting for this one." So that happened in, I think it was around 2006, 2007, somewhere around that time, 2006, I think it was. I really have to look back on my books. It's the one bit that I couldn't find for the date, sorry. But I know that it's in there because I've read it several times before. But it's just a lot to go through. So I really wanted to at least pour all of that stuff out to you, to get you into a sense of some of the stuff that I've been going through all my life. So that's part 2. We had part 1, which was my early childhood and the UFO experience and stuff. And now the next stage in my 40s, because I'd met a Cherokee elder. So I worked with her next. There was real telepathic conversation with her. I had had 4 different beings, 4 different, species come to me, telling me their version of the true history of humankind. So I had all of this happen over the next so many years. So I've still got all of those stories to come. I'll just leave it there for today, though, because that's what I wrote down to share with you in part 2. So it's going to carry on. And I'm not saying that that's all of it. This is the bits that have really stood out. There's probably a lot that I've missed. Oh, yeah. I forgot to tell you guys that I also had a lot of dreams about fairies. I had a lot of visions about fairies. And around the same time as I had these visions of fairies and a leprechaun that came, sounds pretty bizarre, but my name is Nanahi, which means I'm creator of fairy in Cherokee, as well as Lanawa, which is carry the code to the new, creating the new earth. When I actually had these dreams, these beautiful dreams of these visions of fairies coming to me, I went to a forest with a friend of mine, and I saw a light, and the light flew past me, and I went, oh, I think, maybe it's a fairy. And that next following weekend, I was woken up with a Celtic song running through my head. Read a tree. The tree outside was turning red. I saw a vision of a fairy, 3/4 the size of a human, running past, flying past, and then they said, what you saw on Saturday was real. And at the time, I also had a tarot card reading, and I'm like, oh, is the tarot card reading real? My ego getting involved. and they put a little pain in my head, and I can still know where that point of that pain was inside my head. And it was just this tiny little pain of no. And then as soon as I went, is it the fairies, that the pain disappeared. And the very next day in our backyard, I'm talking massive mushrooms grew in a massive mushroom ring in my garden outside. There was about 3 or 4 of them, so they were obviously there doing their thing and connecting with me. And there's more to do with the elementals too in the future when I tell you part 3 and part 4, because they came, it was a pretty profound story, that one as well. So just heaps of stories to tell you. And like, even though I'm channeling all of these messages through to you, I really want to just, I suppose Spirit really wanted me to tell you these stories to get you to have a sense of where I'm coming from. Now, I'm just not this person that's just, you know, whimsically had channelings. This sort of thing has happened with me all my life, and I really need to take the reins and the responsibility. Even writing these down, I'm thinking to myself, well, many people have had experiences, but they're telling me, no, your experiences are something unique to you. So I need to share them with people because I've really kept them very in the back burner and hidden for so many years. So all of this stuff has only just started coming out the last year or 2 with me. And I really wanted to put it in some sort of chronological order for you guys as well. Thank you, Franklin. Hey, Holly. Hi, Tony. Really good to see you guys here. Yeah. So, yeah, it's funny. Usually I have a lot more people on the chat, but maybe because I actually said I'm not chatting today. Sorry, guys. And I really want to start picking some more cards out for you once I get through all these stories. So there is that. But also, really cool thing, I have become part of a tribe, so to speak, and just, hey, Navir. So the tribe, thanks, Michelle, for letting me know that you're here. I've become part of this tribe, and the tribe, I put a Facebook, I think you guys already know, I put a Facebook link to knowing that there's this brand new, it's called, holy crap, my brain through all of that and coming back to earth, I've forgotten what it's called, and that's kind of embarrassing. Horror. But it is on my line, and I have got a talk coming up on Friday where I'm going to have a Zoom conference with you guys, and I want to really start listening to what you guys need. And I really want to bring in this new energy for you to experience. I want you to start tapping into your gifts. So I've got a lot to share. And so I'm going to be live on Friday. It's going to be 6 a.m. in the morning for me, which is Brisbane time, Queensland time in Australia. I will be putting up on my Facebook some adverts for that one. And if you want to connect to this tribe, you're absolutely most welcome. We want as many light workers in this tribe as possible. It's brand new, so it's kind of, we're ironing out the wrinkles at the moment. Well, the people that are in charge are ironing out the wrinkles at the moment. So there's still some things, you know, that they're still working through, but so patience is involved here. But we are starting to come together as this beautiful tribe of members, and we want to be able to get that, or they want to be able to get. This is instigated by a beautiful a guy called Mark. Oh, I've only just tapped into all of this, and names are shocking. I'm shocking with names, so really excuse my ignorance. I don't mean to disrespect anybody at all, but a very important, to just let you guys know, if you want to join, you can join, and we want to be able to get off you know, this mainstream Facebook and everything, and create our own little vortex of light workers and our own little community that's self-supporting and like sharing our gifts and everything. Because it's time for us to start sharing our gifts and to become more involved with each other's work and expand on that. So yay. Holly says, I loving the story so much. Bobbie, thank you so much. Quantum Elite, thank you. Guinevere Masters, let me know. Quantum Elite, thank you. So yeah, I will be part of that, and we will see where that goes. And I'm not going to, you know, stop my own individual journey. This is my journey I'm taking, but we need to be able to share these experiences and help each other. I'm a graphic artist. I would love to share and help as well with anybody that's needing that sort of stuff. You know, within reason of my time limits and schedules, I really want to get off my mainstream job and do this full time. So your support is really great, you know, really grateful. I'm also an intuitive counselor. I have that on my website. I just started an Etsy shop. I haven't added too much more to it. But yeah, Holly, join that one. So you can become a member, and it's free to become a member. You can also become a paid member of the Elite, and then when you become a paid member, if you get somebody else under your name, then they give you half of their money and so forth, so you can get your paid member paid for by other people joining. It's a bit of a, I suppose, a pyramid scheme. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really worry me. I'm paying because I already pay for advertisement for Facebook, and I wanted to get off Facebook advertisement, which really wasn't doing anything for me anyway. So I just invested this money into this beautiful Quantum Elite instead, and we will all be self-supporting each other, which is way better, and being able to speak our minds and our truth. So I love to see you on Friday, 6 a.m. on Brisbane, Queensland, Australia time. So you can look up what time your time is compared to 6 a.m. Friday morning, and come and join me on Zoom. You know, you'll all be lined up, and we can interact, and I can actually meet you guys. It would be really fun. So love you guys all and wish you the best. I'll say goodbye. See ya.